Hello, everybody. How you doing? This is Robert Price coming to you here at our live stream time. And so this is an opportunity for us today to kind of dig in a little bit around one of those myths that exist out there around how are you building confidence, or can you even build confidence? And so I'm really excited tonight just to kind of take a few moments to spend a little energy around confidence, what it is. How do we build it if we can? Is it something that we're simply born with or not? Is this just even something that I can improve on? And I think that when I talk to players, specifically golfers, around confidence and what that is I think sometimes we actually have the misnotion of what that actually might mean, or how do I get it? And I really do think that we can do a really good job this evening on at least figuring out, where does it come from? Can I obtain that? And maybe a little bit on how we can go about getting some confidence if we need it, and making sure that we're kind of going in the right direction. So again, this is Robert Price. I am the owner of Elite Minds LLC. I have been at this wonderful process of mental performance coaching for now over 2 decades. And so I am excited always to be able to use this format and to just kind of talk with people around mental skills training. Even we'll probably talk a little bit about what does an actual mental performance coach do, because that is a varied type of thing, and maybe even qualifications or credentials or things like that too. We'll dive into that a little bit, I'm sure, as we go. And so this is an opportunity for me. Hello, everybody out there. It's good to see you. That we'll be able to just, as I mentioned, dive in a little bit. If you're following me at all on social, at Elite Minds LLC on Instagram or here on Facebook, you've seen some of my posts recently around confidence. And so this afternoon, I had some folks be able to respond to some of those posts. And so we'll talk a little bit about the things they shared, and if those things are accurate, or if we can make those a little bit more precise or clean, so that way they can continue to also to help their junior golfers specifically, and their athletes overall. So with that being said, without further ado, here we go. So one of the things that I often get questions around is, can you build confidence? But more importantly, the reason why I am digging into this topic right away is because when a parent shares with me why they're searching and why they're looking for a mental performance coach, oftentimes it is around, can you actually help them be more confident on the course, especially during tournament play? Like, they can actually see this, where confidence maybe in training or in a lower level event is maybe really here, but there's something that a parent sees about their child when they're out on the golf course in a tournament that alerts them that maybe they're not as confident as they were in another circumstance or situation. I actually find that to be quite fascinating, because I'm always curious to know, well, how do you know they're not confident, or that they're not as confident? Like, what is it actually that you see? And it takes some digging, but oftentimes, we start off with, well, the scores are different, or the shots don't seem the same, or they're a little more frustrated or emotional. And those might be some of the surface things. But interestingly enough, as I continue to chat with parents around this, we typically get down to a couple of fundamentals. And what those are very unique, but we see them all the time. And it's a small but subtle thing. These are actually the same things that coaches are looking for. You might even hear it as the it factor, or just someone with immense swag. There's something about what they perceive to be confident that not every kid or every junior or even professional or collegiate player actually has. And so oftentimes it's a couple of things. So uh, just kind of rock with me on this. So one of the main things is the shoulders, right? If you like me, I'm a parent. I have kids that play sport, play golf specifically, but other sports too. And so you typically, when you're looking, you can see this shift in body posture. Usually, it's the shoulders, right? It's they instead of going this way, they simply go this way, right? So instead of going up, like man, I'm engaged. I'm fully attentive. I'm focused. I'm in it. Right. You start to see I'm not in it before even the facial things change. But when I get down to it, I ask, well, what is it that he's? Well, they kind of started down like right. So you start to see like their body, their posture began to shift, and that usually is the sign that maybe confidence is waning. And so, one of the things we know for sure is this: if we can get our players to start identifying that physical thing, even with their shoulders and maybe in some other aspects, that when that happens, that's the trigger for then I need to do something different so that I can maintain this confidence that I have built amongst other places or other areas. And so I think that's such a, whenever and then the great thing is not only when you talk to parents around this, is that when I get an opportunity to work with my professional athletes, whether it's in golf specific or any other sport, it's actually the same thing at the end, at the core of it. They start to notice these body postures, their body begins to change. And that is the signal to them oftentimes. And sometimes maybe it's too late, meaning it's a little bit late when they notice. That's when they realize that something is amiss, and they're not walking, they're not talking, maybe they're not engaging well enough so that they can be actually more focused on the task at hand. And so I think this conversation with confidence, and we'll talk through this a little bit tonight. Where does it come from? How do you get it? And why it's so important is because anytime I get interviewed around these things and someone says, well, what is the skill or the thing that you find that you're working with the most? It actually is confidence at every level, whether you're junior elite, whether you're high school ready to get going, moving, whether you're literally looking at college, in college, playing on a professional team. My athletes come to me at every level in an effort to maintain or build confidence in who and what they're doing. And no matter the sport, no matter the athlete, that is one of the main reasons why they're seeking mental performance coaching, is because we have built up, sometimes even in our own selves, a false sense of confidence that we should be this way or that way all the time. And when that's not happening for us, we then start to have these series of doubts. Those doubts, again, they're thoughts, they drive the way we feel and what we do, and they're going to impact those performances. So because of our expectations, maybe sometimes it's because of what someone else is telling us how we should be confident and what we should do to be that. And so oftentimes that's one of the things when I'm working with athletes specifically around this. We start digging in a little bit, start asking some questions through our assessment that I use. It's a 9 mental skills assessment. It's a great opportunity to kind of get some of these basics under control, at least to see who, where, and what we're doing. And then from there, you're able to really begin this process of building confidence. And so I actually responded earlier today to someone who believed that you're actually just born with this thing, that you're born confident. And well, this could be a science conversation, but for the most part, what we know is confidence in and of itself is actually a skill that can be developed. And because it can be a skill that can be developed, we have to find time, energy, and effort and be deliberate and intentional in building that skill. So that's that's like key. Like we know that this is a skill that can be built. And since it can be built, there's ways to build it and there's ways to build it appropriately. So I'm going to jump right in there. If you're following me, if I'm on, good to see you all on Instagram as well, following along here. And you'll be able to see this evening, which is awesome. But what you'll see here is this. Where does the confidence even come from? Well, it comes from these 4 sources. And so I'm going to spend a little energy on 2 of these today. But where I'm going to share with you is what I just shared about the shoulders, right? The body space. That actually is right here in physical readiness. Like, are you physically ready to do what it is that you have prepared to do? And, you know, if you feel good, you look good, you play good, that's true. And because of that, there's a sense of how our posture is set up if we're physically ready and mentally ready at the same time. So we're going to spend some of our energy on these 2, personal experiences and persuasion, this evening. And so we'll come back to this in a little bit, but we're going to talk specifically about personal experiences. Personal experiences, as you can only imagine, is the place in which confidence is largely built. It's largely built in physical, in prior experiences. And so what I love to say about our prior experience is this: it's not whether or not the experience was good or bad or positive or negative. That actually doesn't matter as much, because we also know that as when you start to work through this process, is that if I can manage the things that I'm thinking, then I know then I will be able to understand that my experiences need to be interpreted, and they need to be interpreted effectively. And so that's our first setup, right? Is so that our prior experiences, they are both good, bad, and then some of us use the words positive, negative, but they're prior experiences. And so we need those experiences so that we can begin looking at them objectively to begin building confidence. That's how we get started. If you think about it from any sport perspective, you practice, that's experience. You watch film or video sometimes, and depending what sport you play, that's prior experience, and experience itself, because you're actually now watching and learning at the same time, whether or not what you're doing or what the other opposing team is doing. You have some strategy going on, but you have these prior experiences. Oftentimes what we do is we stop with that. We don't go any further. We don't add to. We don't just take these prior experiences and just say, okay, I'm good. I got all the experience I need, and then I'll be confident. Because if that were the case, then my professional athletes would never come to see me. There would never be a reason for them. They are at the top of their game, and they've gotten there through years of experience, and there would be no need, because they have tons of experience, that if they have all that experience, then they would have confidence and it'd be built and ready to go, never wavering. But we know that's not the case. So we know what is the case. We know the case is that for many of us, just having those prior experiences is not enough. Partly because of the power of persuasion. And the power of persuasion is twofold. It's you having your own thought process for yourself, number one, about the situation. That's your interpretation. And two, it is what others may say about your experiences. So that's really important. It's what others say, and also what you think internally about your experiences. And this area is the area where I love digging in with my athletes, because I think this is the area actually that you can make the most headway. We can create experiences, but oftentimes the experiences are already created or designed But there are things that I love to do to help people with new experiences so that they can actually start building confidence a little bit differently. Because how you train, what you train, how you track what you train, those things we can absolutely do and build the right type of experiences for ourselves. Because at the end of the day, we're going to need to be practicing, which we're going to continue to get those experiences. And what we're going to also need at the end of the day is someone, meaning ourselves or maybe a mental performance coach, to be able to help you interpret those experiences better so that you can actually start to say things, the power of persuasion, say things to yourself that is actually based in truth. And I call based in truth, based in stats and numbers and things that are measurable, things you can see. Sometimes we're just practicing to practice or we're just doing to do, but we are not able to track what we're doing. And that is so important. Or otherwise, we get frustrated because we don't know really truly if we have improved or got better at the thing that we're working so hard to do. So I love to kind of give you a story around this and a little bit of a demonstration about this too in a way. So again, many of you may know this and some of you are coming new. And so the good thing to know is this, is that there are opportunities for us to build out our level of confidence. There's opportunities, there's ways to do this. And so if you are looking at this and understanding this, then what you'll learn is that there is actually a method to this. And that method is crucial. So whenever I work with a junior athlete, so we're going to go about 10 years old all the way up to even college. It's a big wide age gap, but if you think about it, we're still dealing with some of the same things. So what we start to know is this, is that if we think about who we trust with their feedback, then now we can start to understand how that power of persuasion will really get us moving in the right direction. Okay. So you have an event, something happens to you out there, and we're going to talk golf specific. So we are out there and we hit a drive and the drive goes in the rough. You have had many experiences, previous experiences, where the drive has done that particular thing. Now in tournament golf, the ball goes in the rough. It's not so bad. We go find the ball. It's amazing. But in our journey to that ball, we're looking at our shoulders, meaning we need someone to help us, remind us, like, what's my posture looking like? So once we understand what our posture looks like, and maybe you write it down, maybe you have it on your hand, maybe you've written it in your score book holder. But these are things that you get an opportunity to remind yourself, if it's just you, of how you can go about paying attention to the main thing, which is the posture. You really will be able to see that you have something that you'll be able to focus on. But now the ball's in the rough, and you're able to step back and have this experience with not only yourself, but maybe someone else if you had a caddy. But you start realizing, like, okay, what's my posture first? And once you start recognizing, well, what is my posture to this? So because it's a real subtle thing. If your shoulders are up and back, then what you start to realize is this, that you're actually welcoming, you're accepting of whatever it is that you're getting ready to find. That's the first step to maintaining this confidence, because you can now see, breathe better, all the things. This is how it begins for you. And then when you get there, they're then able to make a good decision about what you're doing and how you're going to go about doing it. Okay. So the idea is, again, you're having shoulders are back, your posture, you're reminding yourself of that. So that way, when you actually get to where you're going, you're actually able to receive, accept whatever it looks like. And so once you're able to do that, now you're actually able to make good choices and decisions for the next shot. You hear that all the time. It's shot after it's the shot, it's the shot, it's the situation, it's the moment, it's the situation. I'm only supposed to be thinking about this next thing, next thing, next thing. How do you actually do that? Well, you have to accept the present moment, the situation at hand, before you can even think or move forward to the next thing. And this is why oftentimes when a parent is watching a junior, or we're watching a professional or one of my clients, when we're out there watching them actually play and we start to see their confidence dip, we literally start with the shoulders and then it just clouds their decision-making process, all based on posture. So it's a crazy thing. I see some familiar people out there on Instagram. Thank you guys for joining. If you have any questions on there, you can. I'm pretty confident you can throw them in there, and I will definitely answer them. So it's good to see you guys out there. And so that's our step, like our easy step. It's like amazing just to do that one thing. We do that one thing. Keep those shoulders in that posture, organized, keep it where it needs to be, because then you're able to literally use the posture to accept what you're getting ready to see. So how does prior experience and the power of that persuasion begin to work together hand in hand? Well, the beautiful thing is this: if you practice that way, right? Practice that way, you begin to build prior experiences that you can go back to that are effective for stressful situations or in a situation that is a little unnerving to you. And so now what you've been able to do is you've been able to build based upon prior experiences, but they're now positive or effective experiences that now your brain, your body can go back to specifically. And now you're really ready to move forward with acceptance. And so I love the fact that the person that has the last say is you about what you accept and what you don't. And so if your shoulders are back and you're in good posture, you're ready to be able to accept what's happening so that way you can make good decisions. And now you're thinking with more clarity. That's the process. So we work about our posture. We do that in practice. We do that even when we're walking or talking with others, right? It's a reminder. We need these constant reminders so that way we're building these experiences so that in tournament pressure, it's going to happen on the 17th hole or the 18th hole or in the playoff or whenever it's going to happen, you are already prepared. Your body has a response that you have practiced. So that way your brain will have a response that it will lead right to the right type of thinking, more effective thinking, more task-focused thinking. And so this is something that has to be worked on and practiced, yes, but for the most part, it's a beautiful thing to be able to recognize, well, where in the world does this confidence even come from? You start seeing this person trotting down the fairway to their ball that's in the rough or behind a tree or wherever it may be, and their still shoulders are back, they're ready to go because they recognize that now they're in a position of acceptance. And now they'll be able to think more clearly and do the thing that they need to do next, that next task focus. So with that being said, that's part of this process. It's understanding exactly how do we go about getting our confidence into a place where we're feeling confident, because it's usually an emotional state, a feeling state. But how do we know we feel that way or we are emoting that? Well, it's actually in how we feel, how we present ourselves. It actually starts right here in our shoulders. It's the craziest thing. So once you start to understand, like, oh yeah, because even when you look in the mirror at yourself, sometimes you shoot your shot, you shoot your selfie, you actually get this whole motion going because now you're feeling good about yourself. You're being able to accept what is coming to you. And that's the first steps of taking that prior experience, building that confidence that we need to begin building. And then we'll start to leverage exactly the next part, which is the power of persuasion. How are you actually able to interpret that situation better? Well, you're able to interpret that situation better because you're first able to accept it. And then after you're able to accept it, then you can start making the right decisions around that. So I'm excited about offering up some of these, an opportunity for you guys to ask some questions. I see a few here, and I will get to them in just a second, actually. So this is great. Yeah, I see you right in there. Thank you. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. One of the questions is, are you able to build confidence through just encouraging your athlete? Yes, but that may not seem like a lot or enough. So when we talk about encouraging, what we know is that if we are encouraging, then we have to make sure that we're encouraging the right thing. Okay, meaning the thing that either they have identified that they're working on, or a goal specifically that they're trying to accomplish. If we're encouraging their posture, if that's something that they notice, that is going to help them with regards to encouragement. We have to remind ourselves that if we're the one doing the encouraging to someone else, that someone else, the person receiving that, at the end of the day, they're the final say on whether they're going to accept that encouragement. Are they going to believe it or not? You're actually the captain of that, right? Individually. So if you're able to do that, then you're good to go. If you don't know what they are looking to achieve or accomplish, then maybe encouraging might not actually do what you're hoping that it will do. A great example of this is when I'm with parents on the golf course, and the child hits a good shot or a bad shot or a shot. Let's just go with a shot. And the parent says, "Great shot," and the kid's like, it wasn't that good, or they try to, and we look at the result of the shot and we're like, that was fantastic in our mind, but maybe the kid feels that way because maybe they were looking to shape that shot and they were unable to do that, or they're maybe looking to flight it, or to hit it to a certain area on the green or on the fairway, and they were unable to accomplish the goal that they had set in their mind. And so our sense of encouragement is not in alignment with what their goal was for that particular moment or that particular shot. And that's why sometimes there's that friction between the player and the parent, because the parent doesn't actually know what the kid was actually trying to do. And so we're not able to encourage or provide praise for specifically what the child was trying to accomplish, and if they were able to do it or if they were not able to do it. And so I think sometimes those are the conversations that you can actually have with your child before the round begins, to really know, like, well, what is your goal in this event? Not just score. Like, what types of shots are you planning to hit? Draws, fades, low trajectory, high trajectory, like really getting detailed, specific about, well, what's at stake here? What are we really trying to accomplish? Because if we do that, then now we're really ready to be able to respond accordingly to what we have going on. So once we start to understand, like, man, I can actually build confidence, we then begin to understand the process behind building the confidence. And so again, I'll just put this right back in there because I think this is so helpful for those who are watching, is this right here. Again, when you're really looking at these and understanding specifically, how do we do this? What does it look like? How do we actually manifest these things for our junior athlete? Is like, so and I'll put this on the Instagram comment so that folks know what those 4 sources are, so that way you guys are tracking. But these four sources of confidence, like where they come from, is right here, right? It's the personal experiences, the experiences that we have, the physical readiness. How are we feeling about what we do? Are we actually healthy enough to be able to do this? Modeling and observation, I'll talk about briefly, and then we talked mostly tonight about personal experiences and tying those things together with the power of persuasion. So that way we can really get the most out of ourselves, specifically in competition, in tournament play. That's really going to be crucial. Are we actually building the right experiences in practice that we can use in tournament play? And are we, meaning ourselves and or our person that's observing us, do they know what that is? And so then are they able to share, hey, I like what you are actually doing? Meaning we started off with posture, making sure that our shoulders are still back. So that way we can actually accept whatever is getting ready to happen. So if we're able to do those two things, I think that is a good start in how you begin this process of building confidence for your clients, for your junior golfers, for your kids themselves, because really this is the beginning. This is like the basics of how this stuff begins. And so if we can start this process together, if we can do this together, this is how you're going to start to get the most out of your performances. The most out of those performances. So, those four sources of confidence is really where it's at. Awesome. So I have another question here coming from YouTube. So awesome. Okay. So this is their question. I know that you mentioned earlier that confidence is not something that you are born with, but it does seem that there are some athletes who are just naturally more confident than others. How can you explain that? Okay, great. Very good question. Well, what I would say is that it is a thing that you can develop over time. And depending on your development, your child specifically, you'll begin to be able to see confidence maybe earlier. There is a ton of science around the mindset that is necessary for us to actually build confidence. And that mindset actually is the growth mindset. And what I choose to share, it's the champion mindset. And so once you start to actually have that type of mindset, what you begin to recognize is that your ability to accept what is actually happening to you begins to grow. And you may see that play out at different ages along the way, specifically around 8 to 12. Those things, you might see a wide variety of like, oh, it just feels like that kid is always confident. And sometimes we as parents have to ask ourselves, if we think that about our own child, then maybe we're not challenging them enough in whatever that sport is or whatever that task is, so that way we can actually begin to not allow them to grow a false sense of confidence. And so they can start to understand, like, this is something you actually have to be intentional with and deliberate with and continue to grow. Oftentimes, and I'll share this even with this confidence question, whether it's born or not, is I do believe that we have to feed the things that we do well. And so if someone has this ability or thinking or thought around like, man, they really look confident, and you're the parent, then I would embrace that with them. I would help grow that, but growing it based around true factual things about, well, why do you actually feel confident in whatever that particular task is? And get them to start talking to you about, well, because I mean, whenever I do that drill, or whenever I'm at practice, or that, they'll give you things that they're actually confident about. And then now you're able to grow those things. You're actually able to practice those things even more so that you can actually give them what it is that they really are going to need, especially if we go from sport to sport, but particularly with golf specifically. If you start to understand, like, oh, I just really like doing that particular thing with the wedge. Okay, well, then that's the thing that we're going to spend more energy and more time on so that you can get really expert at that. And so that will be your go-to when stress or anxiety or something like that's going to show up. And so if we're able to do that, that was a great question. Thank you for asking that. So if you're able to do that, then that's what we're looking at. So we're going to be able to kind of really grow confidence from that. So I like to be unbelievably respectful of your time who is listening. These are for 30 or so minutes of our time, but one of the things that we get to do again is next Thursday at 5:30. I'll be on doing a live stream again, but I'm really excited about those that are out there to begin thinking about, well, if I'm looking for more of this content or I have other questions, to be able to reach out to me. Again, on social, you can absolutely just send me a message. You can find me again on Facebook at Elite Minds LLC as well. Really looking forward to continue to grow this particular group for those that are out there and to kind of hop in so that way we can begin understanding and walking through like, you know, this is something that is specific to me and my child and my child's journey, so that way I can really begin to help you and get your child unlocked so that they'll be even more successful out there on the golf course. So on Instagram, I threw just in the comments the actual link to hop into that Facebook group. And obviously that's connected to the gram, so you'll be able to walk with me through there. Braden, it's good to see you there. Doc, it's good to have you there. Philip as well. Gil, hopefully all is doing fantastic out in Texas. I'm seeing you doing great things. I know that you are changing the lives of the students that you are working with, and obviously yourself as well. I know you're on the journey. So for those of you who are out there, I really appreciate your time this evening. Thanks for hopping in here live on the gram and in my Facebook group. It's been an awesome experience to just kind of chat a little bit again about, well, where does confidence come from? Like, can you actually build it? It's not like a Lego set, but man, it might feel like it sometimes. And so you can just piece some of these things together, but the keys really are this personal experiences, but actually creating them where you actually are paying attention to your posture. So that way you just keep constantly continuing to think about, man, I really need these shoulders to stay back. So that way I'm in a position of acceptance. And so that is really what I have for you this evening. And I'm really excited about us continuing to have these conversations. I look forward to you next Thursday. So thanks again. Have a wonderful evening and be blessed.